This meeting of the Bellevue School District Regular Board of Directors is now called to order at 4:31 p.m. on December 19th. Okay, first thing is roll call.
Phil Block.
Carolyn Watson.
Cindy Rogan.
Monica Webster.
Jay Norris.
Kelly Aramaki.
Okay, next we have introduction of the student.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Denwald. I'm the Director of Educational Technology and Assessment, and I serve as the principal for Bellevue Digital Discovery. As I'm sure you're aware, we're about halfway through our third years of school. I'm proud to introduce Maria Serper, who's a sophomore with Bellevue Digital Discovery and has been with us all 3 years to open the board meeting. So go ahead, Maria.
Okay, so you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the land acknowledgement. Okay, there's something reverberating here on my computer. Okay, here we go.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous land of the Coast Salish people, who include the Duwamish, Muckleshoot, and Snoqualmie peoples. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial. We reflect on the historic context that brings us to reside on this land and accept responsibility to interrupt erasure. We commit to an ongoing partnership with the Snoqualmie tribe as we listen to, learn from, and lead with their guidance.
Now it's time for your update, and we'd like to hear anything that you would like to tell us.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria, and I'm a sophomore at Bellevue Digital Discovery. Thank you so much for having me here today. I do rhythmic gymnastics and aesthetic gymnastics, and I'm on the USA national team. When I was in 8th grade, it became clear that it was very difficult to keep up with my advanced learning program coursework while traveling all over the country and around the world. I decided to switch to Bellevue Digital Discovery, which allowed me to continue taking classes 1 to 2 years ahead. It has also made my schedule much more flexible while still allowing me to take rigorous classes, as I am enrolled in 4 AP courses this year. Additionally, I am able to work ahead so I don't fall behind, or even work internationally if I request for international access. Some of my favorite competitions have been in Belgium, where I got 2nd place, Azerbaijan, where I got 3rd place, and Luxembourg, where I got 1st place. This year, I also went to Hong Kong in October for a World Cup and to Estonia in November for the World Championships. For both competitions, I went fully ahead and did not fall behind in my courses. I'm very grateful for Bellevue Digital Discovery because I believe I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for this amazing school. All the teachers and staff have been nothing but patient and supportive and have made Bellevue Digital Discovery feel like home. They always make everybody feel very welcome and safe. I truly appreciate how much my school has helped me in gymnastics and how many opportunities it has provided me with. So I would like to give a huge thank you to Bellevue Digital Discovery, and thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah. Wow, thank you for that. It's good to hear your experience, because that's something we might not have known. Great, thank you. Now we're on to the acknowledgements. Okay, briefer list than usual. We have on the 25th, we have Christmas Day, and on the 25th, we also have Hanukkah, and on the 26th, we have Kwanzaa. I believe those are kind of more like start dates, but anyway. All right, now for the approval of the agenda, I'm going to move that we approve the agenda, and would somebody like to second it?
Second.
Second, okay. All those, any discussion? No. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
I don't hear Phil. It's okay.
Okay.
Aye.
Clock. Okay. Okay, it's a trivial point, but it'd be less trivial as we go through further. Okay, so the next thing is the consent agenda, and it's the same thing. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Anyone second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion of the consent agenda? Okay. Oh, good. Here's Director Block. I'm going to say all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. So now we're going to go on to superintendent update.
All right, great. Welcome, Director Block. Just kidding. It's great to see everybody. I think for those of you who are online, you can't see, but the room is full. I see a lot of people who have invested so much time in the Bellevue School District. We're doing a presentation on the Welcome Center today, this evening, and so I know a lot of people here have been part of that effort. And so I just want to say welcome everybody, and we have some of our amazing transportation team who are also here, and so welcome to you as well. Yeah, so quick, I just have a few things I wanted to update the community about. We can go ahead. Oh, I have my click. This is so awesome, Jess.
You're in control now.
I'm in control. So first off, we had an amazing school board visit to Bennett Elementary. And I just want to shout out the Bennett Bulldogs. That community is rocking and rolling. When you walk into the school, there's this beautiful mural about the Bennett Bulldog family, all these pictures of the diverse families in that community. And it truly, throughout our whole visit to Bennett, it was just a sense of like family and community. It was so remarkable. On top of that, Bennett is really focused on growing global citizens, getting kids to think about how they can make the world a better place. And so you can see that sign, work together to make the world a better place. There were signs like that all over the place. And this little group of kids that were there with Director Aris and with our Deputy Superintendent, Eva Collins, they're basically explaining how they track the water bottle refills and their water bottle refill stations, because their whole focus for this club is to take care of water resources on our planet. And it just was so inspiring. These kids are truly leading the way. They're going to grow up to be incredible in advocating for environmental sustainability. So just a kudos to Bennett Elementary. And then, of course, there's my favorite little Pokemon thing, which basically says they're also planning to start the Japanese dual language program there, which they're excited about. So truly that school is going to be a place of global learning and language. Last night, I got to spend time with the Filipino student club at Sammamish High School. And I just have to say, the Filipinos really know how to do food. I mean, it was so amazing. They just tons and tons of food. That's a picture of the first plate that I got. To the left of that picture is this little singing group of kids that were singing some holiday classics and things like that. They all had amazing voices, great musicians. And then there's a picture of all of us, parents, kids. There were kids from other schools. And then there just were a lot of Filipino staff from all over the district who showed up and partook. So it was really incredible. It's their second annual, and I can just see this group just growing and growing. But I just want to shout out the Filipino community. It was really amazing, and what a great way just to celebrate community before heading into break. Today, I was over at Interlake High School because Ellie Shu, she's an Interlake junior. She was awarded the United States Senate Youth Program Award. And so she is one of two kids from Washington State, joining two kids from every state in our country to go to Washington, D.C. this March for a fully paid trip to spend time with Congress, with the president, with our Supreme Court justices. She had to apply for this, and she was selected among just tons and tons of applicants. And those are her two parents in that picture. Super humble, very, very proud, as they very, very should be. She's an incredible student, and we're just proud of her. And it's a great thing for Interlake High School as well. I want to talk a little bit about the budget. tonight we are going to be having a study session on our October financials. And so for people who really want to learn more about kind of how we're tracking finances and things like that in the district, that would be a good thing to listen in on. That's going to happen right after the formal board meeting. But I just want to show the community a few slides. This slide is going to look strangely familiar, but this is actually not our financials. This is the financials for the state of Washington. So the main thing to look at is that bottom line for the state of Washington is their projections of their ending fund balance from 2023 to 2029. And as you can see over these two bienniums that are coming up, they're projecting their ending fund balance to drop from $1 billion to -4 billion to -6.7 billion. And so I was attending a superintendent meeting this past week, and we were looking at some of the state finance issues. And what you can see is there is something similar going on across the state. This is basically, it is increasing costs and declining revenue. And so the state, if you've been reading the news, Governor Inslee has been putting out a lot of like statements about we need to do a hiring freeze, we need to cut this, we need to cut that. It's because of that simple fact that the needs in our community are great and growing, but the revenue that's coming in is not matching it. And so that arrow that's down the middle, it basically highlights, it says preliminary maintenance level estimate. That's the cost of just maintaining the current services that they have. And you can see that that number goes from 742 million to 4.3 billion to 6.3 billion. So just to maintain the services that we come to expect in the state of Washington is going to cost the state a fortune. And they cannot keep up with those costs. And what I want the school district community to know is that basically parallels what's happening here in Bellevue and in the districts around the state. This is from the budget memo from the state, but this first bullet is something to call out. It basically says this year's revenue forecasts, rising costs and expanding needs require reductions to propose a balanced budget. The governor's operating budget will prioritize continuing essential programs and addressing caseload increases while not expanding existing programs and services. And so you can see that we're all kind of in this boat together, and it is a challenge that we as a community are going to have to face together. This slide that they showed us, it just shows the comparison of public education funding in our state, which is the green line, to the funding of all other things in the state. So all other expenses of the state and public education. So public education is the state's paramount duty. So the paramount duty means it's the most important thing. So it should be around the same cost that we would fund everything else. And so you can see for many, many years, public education funding was below what everything else in the state is funded at. But then with the McCleary decision, you can see that coming up to about 2018, the state really did inject a lot of funding into public education to the point that public education funding exceeded the other things that the state invests in. So 2018, which is when I was hired back in the district, was a year that school districts had way more money than they had had in the past. Teachers finally were getting the raises that they so deserved. But then what you can see, even if you don't have an amazing math ability, is it really levels out. And then the progress that we've made in education has reversed. We, again, are far below the spending that the state spends in other areas. And so a lot of the issues of funding for public education is because our funding has declined and somewhat flattened out, while the funding for everything else in our state has continued to soar. Let me see here. Will you advance it for me, Jess? For some reason, it's oh, great, thanks. This is a slide that districts around the state are working on together, because our focus for state funding advocacy is three main areas: special education, MSOCs, which are materials, supplies, and operating costs, which is basically food, materials, curriculum, insurance, lights, heating, things like that, and transportation. So these are the three areas that we have the greatest concern about. And this is a picture of Bellevue. The green is what we're funded from the state. The blue bars are what we spend. And so you can see with special education, it's a little bit, actually, it's not a little bit, it's quite small. But if you just look at the difference in special education, we spend twice as much that we get from the state. That's not the case in every district, but in Bellevue, we are over, since 2020 to this year, we have spent $133.5 million more than was allocated from the state. If you look at materials, supplies, operating costs, there was a time when we were spending about what we were getting from the state. 2020, 2021 somewhat, but as inflation has just skyrocketed and costs for food and things like that have skyrocketed, the money that we're getting from the state is somewhat shrinking while the cost that we're having to pay for everything is skyrocketing. So you can see since 2020, we've spent $30 million more than what we've been funded. And then transportation is the same. Transportation, we've been spending about what we've been receiving from the state. However, in 2024, you can see that our budget gap is around $3 million. So these are just these three areas, but this shows you kind of the magnitude of the problem that we're facing in general in funding. Tonight, when we talk about our district budget, the focus is going to be, we want to increase transparency and understanding of our budget with the school board and with the community, because as I mentioned in at two board meetings ago, Bellevue, on top of those issues, have our own issues that we're addressing, from needing to have better communication about the budget, needing to budget more accurately. There's a whole host of issues that we have discovered and we need to fix here in Bellevue. And so tonight, the first step is to improve how we communicate our finances to the board and through the board to the public. And so we are developing a new set of visual aids to help us understand what our finances look like. We're going to do monthly financial study sessions with the board so that we can really elevate the importance of our finances with the board and with the community. And then we're going to implement a bunch of different ways to track costs before they're spent. And so we can do a better job predicting what we're spending. So there's a whole host of things that we're working on to improve our financial situation, specifically here in Bellevue. Tonight, what the community and the board is going to see is our first kind of pass at improving simply the communication of the information about our financials. Coming up, there's a few things that the community should know. So one, tonight, our study session, we're going to look specifically at our October financials so we can see what our finances look like specifically in the month of October. In January, we're going to launch some listening sessions. So the cabinet and some other kind of district leaders are going to go out and host listening sessions with staff, students, families, and a lot of our strategic plan kind of design teams, including like the Welcome Center team that's here tonight, so that we can hear from the community ways that we can address our financial situation. January, we're going to recruit for this new board audit and finance advisory committee that we set up last meeting. And then in January, February, I'm going to work with our school board to kind of solidify our budget cut proposals for the following school year. So that is all coming. And then you can see the image on the right, Christy Swessinger, who is with the Bellevue Council PTSA. She's here today. Thank you. But she's kind of coordinated with all these districts around us to talk about the school funding crisis in Washington State. And so Renton, Issaquah, Lake Washington, we're all going to come together and talk about the issues and how we can advocate together. And Jane Aris, one of our school board directors, she contacted Chris Rakedahl, who's the state superintendent, and it sounds like she was able to get him to come. So this is going to be a really great thing if you want to learn more about finance. It's going to happen on January the 8th from 7 to 8:30 right here at Sammamish High School. And in closing, we're about to head into winter break. And so I just want to say, I hope our families have a wonderful winter break. We're celebrating so many different holidays. We have such a diverse community. And so the celebrations over the next 2 weeks are going to be amazing. And I just wish everybody wonderful time with their family and with their friends, and just some time to rest. And if we have any burdens that we're carrying into break, I just hope that for all of us that we can kind of set them aside, celebrate and be grateful for the things that we have, because we can just pick all of that stuff back up when we come back into the new year. So that would be it.
Oh, thank you. And I like that slide. Anyway, let's go on to public comments. So I call on Chief of Staff Harrison to orchestrate this piece.
That would be my honor. Thank you, President Watson. We've got 3 speakers here tonight from our transportation department. Welcome. What I would ask each of our speakers to do is to, when it's your turn to come on forward, you will see a slide on the screen with your names. It shows you the order. When you come up and sit down, please introduce yourself to the board and for the record. And just a reminder to each speaker that you have 2 minutes. So don't be surprised when you see a clock on the screen that tells you how much time you have left. Do you want to read your rules, President Watson?
Usually I'll just, you all can see this, there's a lot there. So I just try to paraphrase it a little bit, but because we have such jam-packed meetings, we only have a certain time slot for this. And so we do ask every commenter to just take 2 minutes, and you can always give us written documentation or email us at board@bsd405.org. And then we ask that you maintain the same standard of civility that we try to maintain up here when we're talking to each other. So please, no comments that are libelous or slanderous or invade people's privacy, nothing obscene or indecent, or anything that's going to violate like FCC regulations. No violations, please, of harassment, intimidation, bullying, discrimination district policies, and don't incite an unlawful act on school premises or violate a lawful school regulation or create a disruption to the orderly operation of this meeting. But given all that, we'd like to hear from you. So thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Susan Zielinski. I'm a bus attendant in the transportation department and the union rep for the bus attendants. And I come here today to speak about the furloughing of our highly valued bus attendants. We understand there's a budget deficit, but this goes way beyond the money. It's a safety issue of the highest importance. Bus attendants were hired because there was a need. That need hasn't gone away. If anything, it is increased. I've been on 10 different buses already this year in 3 months' time. We've had buses that were so bad, they needed 3 bus attendants on one bus just to maintain the order so the driver could safely transport the students to school and back home. That's our primary responsibility, to safely transport the students. We have more drivers requesting attendance than we have attendants to go around. I personally have had to break up fights in between students that were about to fight, console sobbing students because someone bullied them, hit them, took their belongings, or their parent wasn't there to meet them. We are constantly reminding students of the safety rules and how to be a good bus rider. We are there to help maintain a safe riding experience. How can a driver safely drive the bus if they have to constantly be checking their student mirrors to see what's going on behind them? They can't. They have to have their eyes on the road. They can't do that if there is chaos on the bus. We have had students opening emergency doors, jumping out the windows, having food fights on the bus before the bus even got an attendant on it. Parents have threatened to sue because they felt their child wasn't safe on the bus. This could very well happen again. Cutting the costing the district much more than it would save.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, should I just make a copy of this or email it to
Yeah,
you guys?
please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, thanks for your time tonight. My name is Peter Wright. I've been a school bus driver for 22 years for Bellevue. And last year I had two of the worst routes I've ever driven in my life. The first one had a group of kids that were disrespectful, wouldn't listen, were so loud I couldn't have a conversation with a parent right off my bus. So I immediately, well, a couple of months in, gave that route up and then took a different route, which was equally bad. And that was the year that we were canceling routes. So that new route got canceled and I got put back on that route. And there was this time a bus attendant. The difference was completely 180. It was to the point where I wish I hadn't given up that route because I had help. I had somebody there who could monitor the kids. She walked the bus, made relationships with the kids, and just gave me the ability to drive the bus safely and focus on the road, not the kids, not those kids in the back who are just making my life miserable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mic check. Hello, my name is Lawrence Brown. I'm a school bus driver for Bellevue School District. I've been a driver here for the last 5.5 years. I'm here today on behalf of our bus drivers and bus attendants as our union president. As a school bus driver, we have very challenging jobs. Many of us, including myself, drive hundreds of kids every day. On my most crowded route, I regularly have 70 or more students behind me at one time. The most common thing I hear from our colleagues who don't drive the school buses at Bellevue School District is that they could never do my job. The stress and responsibility of the job are very demanding and they don't think they could handle it. In light of these facts, we're here to express a concern over safety as the district is planning to eliminate the bus attendant's position at the end of January next year. This is being done to try and remedy the district's budget crisis, which we agree is a genuine and important concern. However, we feel that compromising on student safety on buses is not acceptable. The work our bus attendants do to educate and keep our bus riders safe is so important to us as bus drivers and the broader Bellevue School District community. Without our bus attendants, we anticipate drivers needing to pull over the buses more often to manage student behavior. This could cause delays and a decline in service and could be a safety issue. We also may have to suspend students more often, which could impact our ridership, by which we are funded at $11,000 per student riding. Most importantly, we could see more accidents as students are one of our biggest distractions while driving. We urge Bellevue School District to reconsider eliminating the bus attendant position as it would be compromising on student safety. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I also have a signed sheet
Yep,
of bus drivers
Please,
I can
give
provide
it
for
in
you.
over there. Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, thank you for public comment. And now we go on to our reports, and we're eagerly anticipating our annual plan progress report on the Welcome Center.
All right, I'd love to introduce Dr. Ricardo Macias, the director of the Welcome Center, and your team. Are you guys coming up? Okay, come on up.
Isn't that cookies?
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity for us to come here and share a little bit about the work that's been happening with the Welcome Center. As you can see, there's a few of us here tonight. With me, I have multiple members from the Welcome Center design team, as well as one of our family ambassadors. We're really excited to share a lot of what's been happening. I would like to start off by just thanking everybody who's been part of this work. This has been a collective effort. I was coming up with a list of the people who I should be thanking tonight, and it was so long, and I'm like, I'm sure I'm going to leave people out. So it has been really, really a collective effort. I'm really appreciative of everybody's time. A lot of people who are involved in this project have been volunteering their time. Also, one big thank to my colleague, Kelly Taylor, who's been leading this work with me. Unfortunately, she was not able to be here today, but she has been so instrumental in this work, and I have so much fun working with her. So huge shout out to Kelly. Having said that, I'm going to have, as I was saying, some of our members share a little bit of the work that has been happening with the Welcome Center.
Hello, my name is Sydney Wolfwood. Hello, my name is Sydney Wolfwood, and I am the parent of a very sweet little girl at Stevenson Elementary in 2nd grade. And I have been volunteering to every coalition that I can possibly volunteer and lend a helping hand to. And so I'm really happy about this human-centered systems, shifting from operational efficiency to building human-centered systems, addressing challenges with enrollment and improving family experiences and fostering a sense of belonging. One thing that is very important that I realized when I was doing the coalition last year is that a lot of families did not feel like they belonged. And that was kind of the going theme of everything. So just to have an example, with human-centered systems, there's 4 major components. Customer service, being culturally responsive and having expert support and knowing that you are known and cared for. But if one is missing, it could be very damaging. So for instance, if you go to a hospital and everyone is kind to you, they feel seen, you feel seen, understood, and respected, but the doctor prescribed you the wrong medication, that could be detrimental in many different ways. So it's a very important step that we are taking to implement human-centered systems.
I don't know if the clicker is working. I might be something wrong. Can we please go to the next slide? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christy Swessinger, and I'm with Bellevue PTSA Council, and I also have 2 students in the district. Based off of the Strategic Plan Coalition last year, the Welcome Center initiative was developed. The Welcome Center will be located in ESC West on the main floor. The design team will be addressing signage so families know where it's located. A Welcome Center specialist will be the friendly first contact that will greet families and community members as they enter. The criteria for the selection of the specialist will focus on extended background in customer service, will be multilingual, and have a vast knowledge of our district and multicultural support for our families. The 3 main components for the Welcome Center include the physical space of the Welcome Center with representatives from multiple departments, including MLL, special ed, and student placement. The Family Resource Center will include community partners and resources for the many community partners and organizations that support our students, staff, and community. The Parent University will be both a physical space and online resource where the district will be creating content to share on the district website with our families and schools around a multitude of learning areas. These will be in partnership with communications and different departments such as teaching and learning and transportation.
Hi, my name is Judy Hunsberger. I'm the Family Engagement Specialist. Once the Welcome Center initiative was created, first step was community engagement. At the heart of the EDDM, equity-driven decision-making, involving, partnering, impacted by the decision, and co-creating with them, with the families is important and crucial. With this in mind, we put together the Welcome Center design team. Selections of the members were very intentional, and the focus was to overrepresent historical underrepresented groups and communities. The Welcome Center team is made up of 24 members. The members include board member, staff members directly working with Bellevue School District families of diverse communities, also in conjunction working with community partners, City of Bellevue, outside organization agencies that work directly with our BSD families and communities that are underrepresented. BSD families with active students of different age groups, diversity bringing raw, rich, real life experiences and barriers to our team. We are truly grateful for this partnership. In addition, the team conducted focus groups and included the voices of an additional 29 members of our community, including many students. The group has also been working in subcommittees focused on specific work such as design of physical space, and we are in the process of creating additional subgroups focused on family support, resources, and marketing. Some of our members are also a part of our strategic plan coalition to make sure that there's alignment to our work and the vision of the district. Also using the summary steps details for the EDDM to guide us. Lastly, I like to leave you with this. We belong, all our families belong. We learn, we, BSD, learn from our families. We lead together in partnership with all our families at BSD. Thank you.
And when we think of the Welcome Center, we do think of a physical space, and we're gonna get to talk a little bit about more in a few slides. But the vision is for this to go beyond a physical space to be a mindset. It's the development of human-centered systems and experiences, as we were sharing before, that can create a more consistent experience for our families across schools. Some of the conversations we've been having as part of the Welcome Center design team is how do we create a more welcoming environment and develop human-centered systems that can be replicated across schools. Also, providing access or streamlining access to resources for our community, as well as streamlining and providing access to information.
Accessibility. Accessibility is a foundational priority in the Welcome Center Design Coalition. The team visited the Accessibility Lab to explore tools for universal access. One important tool we used was community member experience. We reached out and collaborated with a transitions program student, his name is Leo, who went through the space with us, giving us much needed feedback that has and will continue to guide us while we design a space that is accessible and supports our community now and in the future. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carrie Ellison. I volunteer with Bellevue LifeSpring and Math Agency, tutor students at Lake Hills. In addition to having a very attractive, welcoming space, accessibility has been really important and was mentioned. We've been able to tour the space with individuals that have accessibility challenges, and we've incorporated some of their suggestions, two of which are for the main entrance, having an automatic opening and closing door, and having a floor plan that is very open and easy to navigate for everyone. Other great ideas have come from the members of this great committee and touring welcome centers at Bellevue City Hall, Microsoft, banks, and other businesses. Based on what we've learned, we've tried to blend these great ideas into our design process. Some examples are ample signage in multiple languages, having 2 small children play areas to engage them so parents can focus on the things that they're there to learn about. Bringing nature into this design. We all know how calming and peace-bringing nature is, and it's been important to cultures from the past and present. And then last, I'll mention student art and community art, which further connects us. These are just a few examples of the intentionality we've tried to create in designing this space. We want that sense of belonging, and we want a space that people want to come to and stay and talk with us and have a cup of coffee and learn.
Hello, my name is Samantha Castillo. I'm a family ambassador. The family ambassadors are a team of volunteers who are also parents committed to helping other parents, especially those who are new to the Bellevue School District and its educational system. The primary goal of this program is to support families, especially newcomers who often face challenges related to language barriers and access to resources. For the initial phase of this project, the focus is on families in elementary schools. However, there are plans to expand this project to middle and high schools in the future. Currently, 3 elementary schools are represented in this program. The first cohort of ambassadors includes 7 individuals representing 5 countries, speaking multiple languages, and bringing cultural and personal experience to this project. This initiative made possible through the collaboration with WEBS, which has provided us with the training to support and empower families. Starting next semester, the family ambassadors will begin connecting with families who need support. And the purpose of this program is not only to assist, but also to empower these families to navigate the educational system here at Bellevue.
Hello, my name is Ingrid Aldana, and I am a family engagement specialist. Thanks to the Bellevue School Foundation, we were able to partner with Dr. O. Harris to provide a learning opportunity around unconscious bias and the impact those have on the way we interact with others. To this training, we had over 60 attendees join. We had representation from numerous departments in the district, including MLL, advanced learning, special education, communications, technology, digital discovery, student placement, preschool, Welcome Center design team, Bellevue LifeSpring, Bellevue School Foundations, family ambassadors, and other community partners. This impactful training is setting the tone for our work moving forward. Today, I would like to share a testimony from one of our participants. Dr. O gives a very practical way we all can address our implicit biases without vilifying those of us who are willing to do the work. Her essential steps, I feel, will help us create a truly authentic, beloved community, one that our families, students, and staff deserve.
So thank you so much to the Bellevue School Foundation for providing us with the funding for that opportunity to be, for us to be able to have that opportunity. One thing, when we talk about all the work that has been happening in collection and partnership with many people in the district, one thing that is critical is the funding for this initiative. A few things I want to share about the funding. One is we are limiting the impact to our general fund. So the remodeling that is happening over at ESC West is completely funded to capital funds. We do have added 2 positions, a Welcome Center specialist. But in order for us to remain budget neutral, we did some reorganization in student placement, which freed up enough funding for us to hire 2 Welcome Center specialists. However, in order to go beyond that and be more responsible to our community and save as much money as possible, we did the hiring of those 2 positions internally, which resulted in the net elimination of 2 roles within our organization, further saving additional funds to the general fund. Professional development, as I was just mentioning, was supported by the Bellevue School Foundation. So this is some of the funds that some of the ways we are looking at creatively be able to fund this initiative. I know I'm running out of time, but I want to mention a little bit about a few next steps. As I was sharing with you over the, in the previous slide, we are currently doing some remodeling happening at ESC West. We're hoping to be done with that remodeling soon in a couple of months so that we can go ahead and do a soft launch. We are projecting the soft launch to be happening around late winter or early spring. We are working with our Welcome Center design team, shifting from the physical space to the experience of our families. So we're going to be focusing on developing human-centered systems and protocols. Our collaboration with schools and departments for the creation of consistency across the system is crucial. So that's something that we're going to be focusing on as well as the Parent University, which is going to be a way for us to create content that can be distributed to schools and members of our community with information relevant to specific topics. And we're also starting to work with our partners in communications to develop a Welcome Center website for families to have access to all this information. I know we ran out of time, but we do want to thank you all for your support for this amazing initiative. I personally want to thank everybody who's been part of this work. I feel really badly when they come to our meetings and, they spend hours and hours with us and they're just so, passionate about this work and so selfless in the way they support our community. And to our board, and again, I was just trying to come up with a list, but the list is pretty long and I will probably leave a lot of people out. So thank you all so much for your support and this opportunity.
Thought I hit the button. Thank you for that. And thank you for being aware of the time, but we are doing okay on time. So we'll have the board give a little bit of feedback regarding all of this. So we've decided that we're going to do it just by whoever wants to raise their hand. All right. Director Rogan has raised her hand.
And I feel like I should be down there with you guys. It feels so funny being up here because I'm honored to be a member of this esteemed group. And I just want to acknowledge that under Ricardo's fabulous leadership and the heart and soul that this group brings to this innovative initiative has just been goosebump kind of material. It's been so transformative and I can't say enough about it, but I just wanted to call out this idea that human-centered systems, this is the core, I think, of and the heartbeat of what I think is our strategic plan in so many ways. And I'm thrilled that Ricardo, you brought up the fiscal responsibility paired with innovation, that this can be done, and it is going to be done with all of these hearts and minds that are so wonderfully diverse coming together on behalf of kids and families. So thank you for that. And I also just wanted to reinforce this idea that human-centered systems, it's not just about the heart and soul and looking forward to the future, but as what came up this last meeting, it's also about repairing and healing when we've missed the mark as a district in our schools or in our departments. And what a great opportunity to, have that kind of conversation. I just think it speaks volumes to, I'll say, who we are as an advisory group. So thank you, everybody.
We're still going in order, aren't we? So first, yeah, I know. So first, I just want to thank you all for being here today and just for your continued support and dedication to serving our families and our students. It's just so great when folks can come in person and explain the work that you're doing. And I just want to thank you for that, because you could be at home with your families right now, but you're choosing to be here with us. And I'm just thankful for that. I think that the Family Ambassador Program is one of those spaces where our school district is really demonstrating how we're being intentional about leaning into our community and our families to partner together to kind of co-create something that's really beautiful. And that's what I kind of see happening here in this space for our new families, for our new students, folks that are interested in our district, but also really showcases our goal of being in community with one another. So I'm just really glad to hear about the program. And one question that I have is this training going to be available as a resource to other new parent groups that are being formed so that they are able to benefit as well? I'm thinking specifically of the Black parent group that we're sort of putting back together, and just wondering if that can be a training that individuals that are participating in that can benefit from. One of the other questions that I had, since we're anticipating an influx of traffic flow to that Welcome Center, I'm wondering if there are any considerations around the infrastructure of the parking around that building. And yeah, I know that, with testing and all kinds of things that happen over there, it can get quite full. And so I'm just wondering if there are any conversations about traffic flow and parking arrangements. And then the last question that I had, I'm just wondering what considerations there are around potential small satellite sites in some of maybe our building spaces where, there could be some barriers for families to access services. So just wondering if there are any considerations being made to have some smaller sites in our school buildings. And you already talked about signage because I was going to mention that, so thank you.
I think it's a habit you can't break. But thank you very much for doing this work. This is such a great investment that we're making into our community. And I think about, the first impression, right? When we tell our kids or how important it is to have that good positive first impression, and this is what it is, to welcome our community, welcome the new members into our community, that they belong here. And I appreciate you all putting the effort into making this this amazing space. And I ditto on the professional development, and I wonder if if you're planning to make sure that as this obviously our community is a evolving and revolving door, and so as we have more volunteers into this space, are we making sure that that training is consistent so that everybody can be on the same page? And I love the multilingual signage that you're putting in there. I'm curious to know, will you be putting ASL as well? I think it's important that we look at languages, not just the spoken words, but our ASL. And I'm curious if you guys are looking into student volunteers, internships. I'm sure there are many in our community would love to participate in this space. And so I'm curious if you're thinking about that. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
I have another number of comments, but let me just start by saying I love it. I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to going to visit and see how I feel. But then I'll just give you a few random thoughts. And one is, I also had that concern about the parking and accessibility, and I'm not, thinking that you guys are going to be able to solve all of this, but I know it's a lot harder to get into ESC West than it is ESC East because it's below grade and you have some steps and you have a ramp, and the ramp is okay if you're in a wheelchair, but if you have trouble walking or maybe a kid's on crutches or something like that, both of those aren't neither great scenarios. I also know that there's handicap parking in the garage underneath, which goes flat into an elevator, but you have to have some kind of key or something to get through that door. So I'm wondering if there could be some thought to that, and also that there's just parking spaces for anybody. Then you made me reflect on welcome centers I've been to in the past, and because you went around and toured all of those, and I remember as a kid, the welcome center I loved was the one for the state of Florida. Do you know, maybe you're not East Coast people, but you stop there and they give you orange juice. And so I'm wondering, you mentioned something about coffee. That might be good for the adults, but what about the little kids who are coming? I mean, can they have some orange juice or a sticker with a bird on it? I don't know, something, because I loved the Florida Welcome Center. And then, okay, so parking below grade, orange juice, coffee. And then I would like to see, I like the slide that you made about the costs. I'd like to see some numbers. I'm willing to believe that the staffing is a wash and I don't need to see numbers on that, okay? But I would like to see how much we had to take out of the capital fund, and I'd like to know how much the foundation spent. And then the other thing, the other question I have is, do we have a plan to kind of evaluate how this is going by asking the families, afterwards how they felt about it? You're nodding your heads. Okay, good. And then I will pass it to Director Block.
Thank you. I am a part of your team. I'm not always able to participate because I apparently am overscheduled at the moment. But I've enjoyed being a part of it and hearing many of your voices in those meetings. Seeing Dr. Macias and Ms. Taylor lead the meeting has been also great as they've taken us through several different things. I was there for the accessibility workshop where we got to see some of the different tools that the district's able to use. And that is really a marvelous resource that I understand some of the other districts have been able to visit our accessibility room and see some of those tools as well. This is one of those ideas that is so good that in retrospect, it's kind of like, well, why did it take us so long to realize we needed to reorganize? I know when I first came on and started meeting with Dr. Armaki, one of the things I said is, well, if enrollment's our problem, why don't we have somebody whose focus is enrollment? Why don't we have a director of enrollment? Why don't we have something like that? And so that's always been part of my vision for this role, is that it is somebody who's helping think about, hey, how do we balance things across the different grades, across the different buildings, but also some of our programs are very hard to discover. If you're in the know, you know, and if you don't, you have no idea. And you find out years later. You're like, oh, my kid would have loved that. I can't tell you the number of times I've heard that from people who are 2 or 3 years too late to really make that difference. I also, as I know at least one of you was, I joined the district where I had to move here and get my kids enrolled. And the individual buildings struggle with that for good reason. They're like, no, you can't bring your kid here to see the inside of our building and meet teachers. That's not a thing. Well, when you're coming here in the middle of a school year and you're trying to get your kid excited about going to school, you need some way to get them excited about going to school. And I'm very hopeful that the Welcome Center can be a part of that. I've also seen your work with the choice programs and the middle school transition. That's a stressful transition for a lot of families, and providing consistency in the outreach and in the programming for those students and families is a wonderful service, because I know there's been a lot of variability. Some people have got it dialed in, and some are a little like, okay, we're going to see the building now. So it's great to be able to provide that support. That's exactly how I'd love to see it. The danger, if I see a danger here, is it's going to be too popular, and people are going to want to add everything they can to your scope of work. And just my cautionary tale is, let's make sure we do everything that we're going to do really well, and work to kind of make sure we grow very intentionally as the Welcome Center gets going, because this is a brand new program and we need to figure out how it works. And I'm really, really excited to see it get underway.
I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to answer maybe some of the questions or respond if you want to. I know Julie's dying to say something, but I just want to say that before I turn it over to you, if you want to just say anything just in response, when you look at this team, this is like the dream team advisory. I mean, every group that we have working on projects are really quite incredible. But when I look at this team, I'm like, this is like a dream team advisory. Even like Miss Judy, when you were saying, you wouldn't get a tour at a school and meet teachers, like Judy was like, if you showed up at Phantom, you would have met every single third grade teacher and you would have had coffee in my office. And so, I mean, this is such a service oriented group of folks. And so I just want to say thank you. But Ricardo, any comments on some of these, the orange juice idea or anything?
So just to be completely transparent, I have a horrible short-term memory. So I'm like, okay, I was when the questions were being asked, I'm like, oh yeah, yep. But I totally forgot some of the questions, and I want to make sure I do right by you. So I'll make sure to get back to you in writing after today's meeting. There were some really easy questions, but I totally forgot, and I want to go over the list again.
Everybody needs a Marta. But it can be also anybody on the team who wants to chime in if you want to talk about architecture. Yeah, Sydney, go ahead and jump in while he collects.
I will actually say, so I was born in Florida, so I know exactly what you're saying. That was the highlight after our family road trips when we entered back into Florida to stop at the Welcome Center. So that would be really fun. I'm in all agreement.
Great. So thank you, Martha, for the questions. Really appreciate it. And Martha, by the way, she's our amazing language access coordinator. We also have Julie and Danny in the back who are part of the team. Like I'm saying, like there's so many people involved in this work that I want to make sure that I do justice. I don't think anybody out. Parking, the question about parking and accessibility, we are going to be doing some enhancements to the building for safety, which is going to be including access through the badge, which is going to allow staff to be able to enter the building through the back. So staff who are going to be entering the building or are going to be housed in the building are going to be able to have more access to the parking in the back. Because right now, if you drive by, you're probably going to see that those spots are not used because we don't have a key to enter the building through the back. So that's one of the accessibility or safety things that we are looking into consideration. The question about satellite school, like satellite safe welcome centers, has been part of our conversation during the welcome center design team meetings. So some of these things, I think they're already being part of the conversation. And as a group, we are trying to figure out what we can do to advance that work. A training available for our future ambassadors, yes. So this is just a pilot. We started off with 7 people, and in partnership with WAPS, which stands for Washington Alliance for Better Schools, we can expand this as much as we want. One thing about this training provided by WAPS is that people who go through that training get a stipend, a $200 stipend, just to acknowledge the time and effort that they put into. But we're working directly with them in customizing the training to make sure it's aligned to our vision for family ambassadors. And we do have this is the pilot year, so the focus is a smaller group. We met with them last 2 weeks, Julie, something like that, because we want to make sure that we co-create this program with them. So we start asking them for feedback regarding the training. So what are the things they like, what are the things they appreciated, so that we can work on that. And yes, it can be accessed by many volunteers who are part of the district. The one thing that I need to check on is that stipend, because that might not, that might be out of our control. ASL, yes, we talked about a sign language being a language that has to be represented in the Welcome Center. We talked a lot about that during our conversations as a team. So that's something that's really on our mind. Transition help, too popular, okay. So yes, no, you're right, Director Block. Whenever we have meetings and when people are finding out about the Welcome Center, there's a lot of amazing ideas, but we really want to stay focused on going back to our strategic plan and the measures of success. We really need to make sure that everything is aligned to that work. That's why we have people who are part of our group, who are also part of that coalition, strategic plan coalition, to make sure that we're in alignment and that we prioritize things, because like you said, there's so many ideas and some great things that could be happening there that we just have to make sure that we are able to prioritize as we are working with limited resources, just with any other project. I think that's it, right, Martha?
Dr. Macias, will you the one thing that would be good to talk about is like how to measure success.
Yeah,
So we were talking about like, how are we going to measure that this is actually having the impact that we've desired?
Great question. No. So based on the strategic plan, there are 2 measures that we're using. One is qualitative data from focus groups and interviews, and the other one is student enrollment. However, one thing that I have thought about is having the group look at those 2 things and develop some specific measures or tools that we can use to measure the progress. Because as we talked of this soft launch of the Welcome Center happening in late winter, early spring, we're thinking of really that first phase being a lot of like data collection, like talking to families, talking to students, talking to schools about how things are going, so that we can identify how we can improve things. So I think that the Welcome Center, one thing I'm really big on is doing things together. And I think that's the heart of EDDM, especially having those people involved in the decision making who are going to be impacted by the decision. So I think that those specific tools need to be developed in collaboration with the Welcome Center design team.
Awesome. Okay, Director Aras.
I just have a suggestion. I don't know if you guys have gone to doctor's office recently, but one of the things I noticed when I go to doctor's office after you check in is they give you a survey. It's like, how was our service?
Oh.
I'm just, quick couple question, did we answer your question? Things like that. I wonder if that's something you could think about. And the other is, this is an ask from other directors from other districts to have a show and tell opportunity for us, for their districts to kind of take a look, because it is very innovative and they think it's a great idea that they would love to be able to duplicate. So just forewarning.
Yes, can you repeat your first question? I'm sorry, like I told you, horrible short-term
It's
memory.
just a comment. It's just about the, if.
Oh, yeah, the survey, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yes, that has come up a lot. And I know we have thought about the idea of like those buttons and like the happy face and all that, but we don't want to do that. But we do want to measure who's coming to the Welcome Center, how their experience was, how do we follow up on that? So 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, we met with the technology department to figure out how we can develop a tool that helps us with that. If families are coming into a Welcome Center with questions about MLL services, we want to make sure that we track that so that we're intentional about who's going to have representation in there. So yes, that's a huge thing that we're thinking about. And another thing I want to address that I don't think was part of Martha's comments is student partnering with students, student opportunities for them. Yes, that's something that has come up as part of the conversations as well.
I just want to say thank you again for this great group that's been working with you. It's been really great to see all the volunteers come in and want to make this a successful program.
And I hope that our Welcome Center is fondly remembered as the state of Florida's.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Okay, we're on pretty good track here. That everything went kind of efficiently. Efficiently, things are, I don't know what's going on. Okay, I want to do board business. For board business, we're going to move on to item 6.1. What noise is it that I'm hearing?
There's people talking.
I hear some reverberation or some talking or something. Anyway.
I move for approval of the 2025-2026 preschool tuition.
Okay. Does anybody second that?
Second.
Okay. Do we want to discuss it? Does anybody have some discussion?
I think we get a presentation and discussion now, yeah?
Yeah, so not so much a presentation, but just, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, not so much a presentation, but just frame this according to district procedure. If there are recommendations with respect to increasing preschool early learning tuition, it comes to the board. So the early learning team, as you learned on Monday, is recommending increases. It's the last time there was an increase was in the 22-23 school year. And the increases were in the memo that you discussed. And you had some questions on Monday that I do have some answers for that I'd like to share with you. And so I'll do that quickly. One of the first question was a really important question, and that is, are there any families that have been impacted by the increases twice? In other words, the family experienced the first increases and these increases. And we don't believe there are any, but it's really hard to determine that. But we don't believe that there are any that have been impacted twice. Another question was kind of new funding from the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And the question was, how much funding and how many seats does that cover? It's about $71,000 and it covers 46 seats. So that's new information. And the breakdown, if you're wondering, is the total number of students in receiving preschool services is, I have it here somewhere. Should have brought my glasses. I believe it's 729, something like that total. ECAP, the state funding for lower income families, covers 173 seats. DCYF funding covers 46. The City of Bellevue and the Bellevue Schools Foundation, thank you, both provide us grants, and those two grants cover 23 seats. So it's a great thing. And we appreciate both state funding and grant funding. And the total number, I've just found the exact number, 762 students are currently enrolled in our early learning program. Another question related to costs is, do we cover are all of our costs covered? Are we cost neutral? And the answer to that question is yes. And that we're able to do that by blending the staffing costs and pay and direct costs with both state funding, tuition, and grant funding. And just to that point, the percentages kind of break down as follows: about 70% are tuition paying families. The ECAP funding is about 3%. DCYF and ECAP together are about 23%. And the grant funding, scholarship funding is about 6% of the total. Another question I think is, again, another really important question was, is there a gap between how many families are requesting tuition assistance and as opposed to how many families are getting tuition assistance? We've received about 279 requests for tuition assistance, and we've been able to provide 242 families with assistance. So it's a gap of about 37 families, which doesn't feel great, but we've made over the years some really, lots of progress towards that. Our dream, of course, is a day when we can provide universal early learning for our families. Final question, I think, was how many students are on the wait list? Are there students that we're not able to serve in our early learning program? Currently, there's, interestingly, 37 students on our wait list. Most of them are tuition paying families and are looking for placements at some of our more full programs at Jingmei, Clyde Hill, Newport Heights, and Medina, where we're all currently, at capacity at those sites. So a couple of things. I'll put this together in a more cohesive format for your update tomorrow afternoon. And I also and I'm here on behalf of Kelly Taylor, the Director of Early Learning, who is not able to be here tonight. So I'm sorry that you got me instead of Kelly, but hopefully it was helpful.
Thank you. So we had the motion, is that right? We had the second? Yes. All right. So now I'm safe to say, would you like some discussion? Okay. So Director Webster.
First, I just want to extend a heartfelt thanks to the City of Bellevue and Bellevue School Foundation for their assistance with offsetting some of these costs to our families. They're wonderful partners and just really grateful. I also want to acknowledge that any increases to programs can be disruptive to some of our families. And I know that we're doing everything that we can to minimize those disruptions. And just two quick questions, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer them or if Kelly will have to do that when she returns. But the first thing is, I'm wondering what the total amount is of that non-refundable deposit that's mentioned in the memo. And then also wondering if the deposit and the annual materials and administrative fees are all due at the time of enrollment into the program. Thank you.
Hey, do you have?
Yeah. So I appreciate the responses to the comments and questions. I still didn't hear a response to the comment about why this time they're proposing increasing at different percentages for the different programs. And last time they were all increased the same amount. So Part Day is scheduled to go up by 5%, whereas the others are scheduled to go up by 15%. So that's one thing that I still would really love to hear the answer to that. The other, I almost lost the question, so give me a second, see if I can get it back. The other thing is 15% is a hardship for any family. That's a big increase. It's higher than inflation is for the next year. I recognize that this is taking a couple of years. This is a little bit of a catch up, but I'm really reluctant to see us have the program go in such big steps. And I'd much rather see us go at steps that are 10% or less than to have any of the steps be 15%. That's just a lot of money for an individual jump from year to year. So I love the program. I know it's cost effective. My youngest participated in it. I was one of those families where we came mid-year, we were unable to get into our preferred location at Clyde Hill. So I drove all the way down to Enitai from North Bellevue to make sure he could have this service. I think it's a great program. Many great instructors. The one other thing I want to recognize is I understand that the state has continued to increase some of the training and certification requirements for these instructors, and want to make sure that we're providing them with a level of support commensurate to what we do for our classified staff.
Okay, I have something I'd like to add. First of all, so I guess what I'm now thinking of is, I think it's our shared vision, although I don't think we've voted on it per se, that we'd eventually like this to be an option for every kid in the Bellevue School District, an option, not forced on them, but if they want it, they would have the chance. And so I'm thinking it would be nice to see the data in a way so we can work towards that goal. And I guess that's why I was asking for like a financial accounting, because this is a standalone, with revenue and expenses that come out all in one budget. And so I think a lot of these, the numbers that you gave us add up to that. But I think over time, I think we'd like to see that we're serving more and more, or see what the possibility is for that to happen. So I would also like to know how many kids are in our kindergarten, because that's like the universe, right? I mean, if you could offer as many slots to preschool kids as you have in kindergarten, which they have, no barrier to get, that would be an indication of how many we would. I mean, that's kind of pie in the sky given the current funding climate. But I'd like to see us start reporting that way, like how close we could get towards really offering it to everybody. Okay, anybody else? Director Ars.
I want to agree, piggyback out on what you said. I agree. I think we've had this discussion about universal preschool and the need, if you really want to grow our kindergarten classroom, to have preschool in our building so they could see where they could go versus being forced into private institutions and then they're split because of the conversation opportunity is not there. I think, and also having a universal would definitely support the closing the gap of our students. But I don't know what data that we need to have, but I agree with Director Watson. If there's data that we could collect now to help that positioning where we can really have a strong conversations with people we need to get that moving forward for our community, I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, Director Block found the magic number, 1180 kindergarten kids. So if we could serve that many in preschool, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, so we have about 307. I mean, if you use last year's numbers as predicted, we have about 300 students who are coming from outside of our preschool program to join us at kindergarten.
Okay, Director Rogan, sorry, we
just real
skipped
quick.
over you.
I just wanted to call it. Thank you for answering all those questions from Monday. I know there was a bit of a litany of those, so thank you. My questions were answered. I just wanted to reinforce that this was really aligned with so many comparables. When it sounded like, was it Kelly Taylor that did the analysis again? Big thank you to her, and I know she's not here tonight, but that was really helpful for me to see that we are competitively priced. And I think my only other question was, how and what else can we do to make sure that we're trying everything we can to help close the gaps for those who need this more than anybody else, right? We have a lot of families that can afford preschool, but what are we doing creatively to maybe tap into some of our existing preschool families' generosity when there are fundraisers, pay one, buy one, get one, something to help close that gap. We know that early intervention, early childhood education makes a difference. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thanks for the report.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, are we ready to vote? Oh,
I'll just say something we'll work on is we will work on having the data and the charts like in writing so you can see that in the future. So we can work toward that both to show data towards kind of a goal of universal. Let's just say we made a target of whatever the kindergarten number is about. I think that's a great idea. And then the financial chart as well. The other thing I'll just mention is it is like preschool is a gap closing strategy. So we want to really push for more preschool for kids for that reason, as well as preschool is a strategy that districts use to bring more kids into the district. So I think that also is a good reason to do that. And then I know that Bellevue LifeSpring is looking at ways that they could potentially help fund preschool. So they're looking at that. I know that the city of Bellevue is thinking about ways that they could do that. And then BSF has been a great supporter of that. So I just want to say thank you to all of them.
Okay, great. So I'll say all in favor of approving the motion for the tuition, unfortunate, can I add that word? Tuition increases. Please say aye.
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 Hey.
Okay. All right, good.
Thank you.
Let's record that, yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to, actually, I have to just say, I actually feel good about that because we can't all always vote aye on everything. So it's good. All right. Now, approval of the engineering services for Sammamish High School field project. And we'll hear a little bit about that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, here to hopefully get approval of the engineering consulting contract for the Sammamish High School baseball field for D.A. Hogan as a principal engineer and a number of different consultants that have a role in this project due to the wetland nature that we're dealing with out there to be able to go ahead and raise the field up to a level that will keep it more playable year-round and address some of the wetland issues that also impact the port apartments and other surrounding areas to Sammamish High School. And part of this is to bring the Sammamish High School baseball field up to a level of our other high school fields. And we're including synthetic turf throughout. So not only the infield, but the outfield to make a more playable surface, give increased planarity to it, and also be able to reorient the field slightly to avoid the conflict with foul balls going into the tennis courts and things like that. And then also a few other comments to address some of the conversation from Monday is that this project, including the engineering piece, is funded with capital levy funds, not capital bond. So we have two different types of capital funding out there. We planned for and budgeted as part of our 5-year levy plan an extensive upgrade to all 4 high school baseball fields to provide a much improved playing surface. The existing combination of synthetic and natural turf has become problematic due to the differential in levels as the natural turf grows faster than the synthetic turf that doesn't grow at all. So at any rate, this will also increase the opportunity for PE opportunities on a field as a multi-purpose field. There will be a full-size soccer field that can be laid out in the outfield at Sammamish, so that'll provide opportunities for PE activities as well as athletics and soccer and football take place at the same time, one for boys, one for girls. Maintenance of synthetic turf is far less costly than natural turf. It results in a saving to the general fund maintenance and utility budgets. The field surface and infield are made from recycled materials and will again be recycled when eventually replaced every 12 to 14 years, depending on use. This new field will also provide additional opportunities that I just described by allowing other activities besides baseball to take place on it, and also making it a more desirable field for increased revenue from outside rentals. That rental goes to the general fund. And due to the wetland mitigation efforts necessary to reposition and raise the level of the field, a group of Sammamish students several years ago planted 300 trees in this area as part of the Bellevue's 300 Trees program. And they have also then sponsored the opportunity for the kids to be involved in this and be able to plant some of the wetland buffer areas with trees. So that will be some of their involvement there as well. And then again, there'll be improvements to the overall area out there for discus and other types of track and field activities that have been needed to be brought up to a more desirable level.
Thank you. Okay, shall we have a motion to approve the,
I move that we approve the engineering services for Sammamish High School baseball field project.
Second.
okay. Would anybody like some further discussion? Okay.
So I do have just a couple of questions. One, do we ever coordinate with the city to do like a fields demand assessment to identify, because we manage some fields, the city has parks that are other fields that are used. Some of theirs are turf, some aren't. Do we have any sort of citywide planning or demand analysis to look at sport field demand?
Yeah, we meet with the city of Bellevue Parks and Community Service here quarterly, and to discuss a lot of these kinds of issues and the ability to share different projects. One of the things that happened a number of years ago is that the city used to rent all of our fields, and then they would go ahead and collect the revenue, keep the revenue, and we'd still deal with the maintenance. Then when we went back to using synthetic turf as part of one of the capital levy measures a number of years ago, was to put synthetic turf at the middle schools as well as the elementary schools. The board at that time said, we're going to do that. We're going to take the rental fees, and that was going to be the deal. So that's kind of how that happened. But to answer your question, yeah, there was always contact about what we can do. So down at, for an example, Sammamish right now, their field is not really playable for good competition use. And so they are using Bannerwood for their turnouts and games. So there's some of that type of,
Yeah, I know that there's always excess demand, especially in the fall for fields, and to have turf fields in the winter is a real asset to the city and provides benefits to a lot of our youth sports programs throughout the city beyond the schools.
Okay, if there's not anything else, I'll call for the vote. Would all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All right, good. Next thing is this award of contract for Big Picture School, and we have a motion that is related but separate, I believe.
Do you want to do that first or
Yeah,
last?
can we do that first?
I think this one first.
This one first and then add that motion.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's start with a motion for the award of contract for the Big Picture School project. I'll move it in the change of pace. Who would like to second it?
Second.
All right. Let's see if there's discussion. Anybody want to discuss this contract further? We already discussed a little bit on Monday. Okay, a lot.
Yeah.
We discussed a lot on Monday. I'll just say all in favor of that. Let's please say aye.
So I do want to speak to one of the comments just in the public session that came up Monday before we vote, if that's okay.
Oh, okay. Would you like to rescind the vote and make the comment?
I would like to rescind the vote because I do think because that Monday meetings are not recorded and we did have a depth of
All right,
discussion, we should
sure.
either have a kind of brief summary of what we discussed so the public knows what we did, on the day.
That's, do we need to do anything or just pretend that didn't happen? All right, so let us proceed then with the comments.
Yeah, I appreciate the efficiency. I'm usually the efficiency hound, so I really do appreciate that. So as I pointed out on Monday, during our board meetings, we always open with the land acknowledgement and recognizing that the tribes were here long before we were. And as part of their treaty rights, they did reserve rights to fishery and wildlife resources. And I noted that this school intersects one of the streams that crosses through Bellevue, widely known as Vasa Creek. It apparently has a couple of names, and that there is a significant culvert that is recognized by the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife as a complete fish passage barrier that is associated with the school parking area. That's about 320 feet long, 48-inch pipe underneath that parking lot that carries that stream. Upstream and downstream from the school, that stream is 12 feet wide, or 10 feet wide, it looks like. So that culvert represents a barrier, and I think that the district should consider looking at that as part of this project, whether there are opportunities to rectify that structure so that it is a fish passable structure that's consistent with the current design standards.
Okay, let's see what the other comments are. Director Arst?
I have less of a comment, but I was wondering if you could take a moment to kind of share what we had, the questions we had and your responses so that our community at large know some of that in-depth conversation
Right.
that we had. That'd be great.
And then we'll just finish these comments and then we'll go to that. All right, so,
I'll just echo that.
Yeah.
Please.
all right.
And just to kind of double check, triple check, I had brought up on Monday that piece about how are we involving our students, actually even including the Sammamish project between Sammamish and Big Picture, and in general, how are we inviting student leadership, sustainability committees to be involved in any of these projects?
At all levels, right?
Right, yeah. And I think the thing I might be concerned about is that that the community that's going to use the facility has input into the design of the facility so that it meets their needs. Okay, now, I think we can give you
I
space
have
to talk.
prepared some some responses to these questions very quickly. Okay to do that now? Okay. The Bellevue Big Picture Project's funded by bond funds authorized by the voters in February 2020 to provide a modernized facility for the Big Picture School with an estimated construction budget of $80 to $90 million. Due to school consolidation, the district was provided an opportunity to repurpose the former Eastgate Elementary School to accommodate Big Picture School. This project includes 40,000 new square feet to add a student dining commons, an expansive library, multi-use space, science, robotic labs, along with a fitness center and locker rooms. It also includes extensive renovations to the existing building inside and out. This approach has resulted in a $40 to $50 million savings to the taxpayers, as well as a 56% reduction in embodied carbon. The new Big Picture School will have a capacity up to 500 students. Additional parking will be added to accommodate both staff and students. An existing reciprocal parking agreement with the Eastside United Congregational United Church of Christ, located across the street, allows for overflow parking to utilize church parking during the weekdays and the church to use school parking for weekend activities. The design team worked hard to maximize on-site parking and queuing while balancing the need for as much outdoor recreational space as possible. Bassett Creek runs along the south edge of the Eastgate property, including a culvert and underground piping transversing 152nd Avenue. Minimal construction will be occurring in this area as part of the project. Since the existing culvert and adjoining stream channel sections are not being modified, no new stream impacts will occur, and in-stream mitigation culvert improvements are not required. The design team explored making voluntary stream daylighting and culvert improvements. However, it was determined that any impact to both budget and schedule would have been substantial. Any improvements would require extensive coordination among numerous agencies. Stream daylighting projects of this nature carry high costs, and the design and permitting process could have added multiple years, resulting in a delay to the project as a whole. We have opted not to include any improvements to this area as part of the Big Picture project, as getting students into their new building as quickly as possible was of prime importance. This does not mean that we could make improvements later as part of a separate project. General contractor is required to sort and recycle most construction and demolition debris as required by the Bellevue School District General Conditions of Construction. Big Picture School utilizes student internships. For example, this year a student has been interning with Balaam Architects, the design architects for the Big Picture School. There will be other intern opportunities for students during the construction and construction administration activities of the project. We spent the last 2 years designing this project with heavy involvement from the Big Picture community, students, staff, and administration. And a number of community members were also involved in that. Going forward, we will be requesting the opportunity to provide the board with regular updates on our projects in design, as well as the status of capital projects for these budgets. I would like to take this opportunity to add that our capital bond, as well as our apportionment of the capital levy funds, have been expertly managed by our Director of Capital Projects, Cindy King, for the past decade. It's not always easy to forecast with so many unknowns, but we reserve a large contingency in our annual forecasting to address unforeseen conditions or projects as they may arise and reprioritize planned budgets as needed to always remain within our budget. Case in point is some funding for the Welcome Center that didn't come about until this fall. So hopefully that answers some of the questions here on that project.
Let's call for the vote, but I suspect you all may have something else to say. Are we good? Or I'm looking for hands.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So all in favor of approving this, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Now we have something else to discuss.
Yeah, I appreciate the commentary about interns. Based on our discussion on Monday, I did want to propose a motion that is, given BSD's interest in educational internships and experiences, that the board requests that BSD asks B West Construction to consider hosting Big Picture and/or CTE construction management student interns during the Bellevue Big Picture School Modernization Project. Furthermore, we ask that BSD consider including requirements or incentives for student internship opportunities and future capital contracting opportunities.
I'll second happily. Okay. Would anybody like to discuss this?
I think it's a great idea.
All right. So do I, obviously. Anything else? All right.
Made a motion, so we need a second, I guess. Yeah.
Didn't I second it?
You seconded it, so we're good.
So, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Hopefully that won't be too much of a burden.
Well, I would make a comment on that. One is this fits in really well with Interlake's construction program up there and the work that we've done with their facility up there to accommodate students in learning these things. And I'm sure SPE West will be more than happy to help entertain students and work through that. So it benefits the contractors greatly. Last item is I did pull the Clyde Hill easement request off, and it's going to give our staff more time to look at our topographical survey, as well as fence boundaries, things like that. And then I'm going to seek another independent appraisal of the cost. So we'll at least have that at our disposal, and then we'll revisit this at some point to be determined.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
So now we have one more item of business. It is item 6.4, the revised DAC recommendation.
And this
Okay.
should be a quick one, I hope. So last meeting, in accordance with policy 3241, you approved parent representatives for the Disciplinary Appeals Council. However, there was a mistake in the recommendation that came from the PTSA. So the revised memo indicates that we would like your approval to replace Sarah O'Brien, who was on the original recommendation, with Mr. Will Ford, who is here tonight, and would ask for your approval of the revised recommendation from the PTSA Council.
Sure. So would somebody like to move?
I move to approve the revised parent representatives for Disciplinary Appeals Council.
Second.
Yeah. Okay, would anybody like to discuss? I will say that we're not like, ousting Sarah O'Brien. She volunteered for, she was going to be on the nominating committee and the names got mixed up. So I did approach her and I said, oh, how are you going to like being on the DAC? And she's like, huh? So, okay. So thankfully we got that corrected. And I'll say all in favor, please say aye.
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 And thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So now we finally have a little bit of time for director discussion. We're 5 minutes over schedule, but that's not too terrible. So let's just be mindful that we want to be in our study session by 6:30 and have a moment for a break. But with that in mind, who would like to go first for director discussion? Nobody wants to go first? Okay.
Well, let's see. A couple of comments on next time, like Filipino Club or any other club has events. I would like for the board to be invited. Thank you, especially if there's food. I would love to be able to celebrate all of our clubs and all of our student activities when possible. So it'd be lovely if that's possible. I wanted to give a shout out to our amazing last minute team that had come together to create the town hall event, which is going to be in January 8th at Sammamish. It was literally a last minute, all hands on deck, and it is a joint effort between Bellevue, Issaquah, Lake Washington, Mercer Island, and Renton school districts. It's the board, the PTSA, as well as all education associations. And I heard this morning there may be a few other school districts on the east side here who may also join us on that. And there's been a lot of ask of and getting good responses of legislators who will be participating in this town hall. I think it's a first ever town hall of this size. And I'm just so impressed how we are joining hands and having this and creating this opportunity where we could unify together to really see how we could push the state to put some focus and funding behind education again. So shout out to everyone who's working on it, including students. And I just encourage everyone to come and join and listen and be part of the dialogue. I also want to say thank you, Bennett, for having us. That was a fun school visit. I love all the things that they're doing. The students are amazing in their sustainability efforts, as well as some of the innovative things that they're doing, including Legos, teaching with Legos. I want to be a student again. And so I think they're doing some great work. Excited to see how that all pans out. I'm out of time. Next time.
Sorry, we had a timer? Okay. All right. So who's next?
I can go next.
Okay.
So at the last meeting, we did vote on liaisons, and one of the liaison things that the district was able to set up was we had our initial meeting with the city of Bellevue. It was really good to get out and meet with them. I think that the city people we met with said, everybody in the room said that the entire careers that they'd been in their roles, there hadn't been such a meeting, and that it was long overdue. So much like the Welcome Center, it's a good idea that's been brewing, and everybody's happy to jump on board. I think that there likely will be kind of a rotating group of people depending on the topic who come to those engagements, especially with the city of Bellevue. Some of the smaller jurisdictions, maybe not, but Bellevue is obviously our largest partner as the Bellevue School District. They also reflected on the fact that, they get asked all these questions about the schools, and they're like, we don't have any role with the schools. So, I mean, we are a separate and independent organizations, and that independence will definitely continue well into the future. But hopefully we can understand the actions each other are taking and find good ways to find synergies and support for each other. It's also been exciting to start working on the legislative planning. The ledge session is coming soon, and we've heard tonight about some of the work that the council and others are doing to prepare and plan for that. I do have a couple of wonderings. I'm going to just put them out there. So I also wanted to recognize we had a transitions visit we didn't get to acknowledge. That was a wonderful experience. I know about that much about special education and that, especially that age. And it was wonderful to interact with the students and the families and to hear those firsthand experiences that they're having, not to mention the fantastic staff that we have in those places. So wondering, in the 3 seconds I have, I'll get this out. In the pandemic, there was a dramatic shift in the provision of medical care where telehealth became a reality. And in thinking about attendance problems and the challenges there, one of the things that we have not really responded to is ways that students can participate in telehealth visits within the school day. So figuring out whether there are better ways that we can improve support for our students who may have medical appointments that they can do through telehealth within the school day is something that I'd like to figure out how we can encourage that, or if there's an appropriate way for us to encourage that. Thanks.
I guess I'll go next if that's okay. I'm wondering why I can't see the timer, and it is because I didn't have it on the right screen. Okay. So I was thinking, man, I feel like I've been doing something school board related every day for the last couple of weeks, but then we're called upon to comment on it. I'm like, I don't know what I did. Just too many things. But I do second that request. If there's any of those, especially the cultural nights, we do like to go. And then I'll report that I did join the multilingual, what's the official name, team that's working on. Okay, yeah, so, and that was very nice. I just basically got to know some people and we did some exercises together, and I look forward to going back and joining in again. And I also went to the Strategic Plan Coalition, where we divided into 3 groups according to the 3 prongs of our we belong, we learn, we lead, right? And so I joined the We Learn group because of my love of all things teaching and learning and wanting to know more about that. And it was fun because there are a number of students in the group, so you get to hear their views on things. Also went to Bennett, which is where I started my journey in this district, and things have really changed over there and for the better. So over the years, I mean, over a long span of time, but it's great. It was great to see them. And then also I tagged along on the City of Bellevue meeting, which was very interesting and informative. And I vow that if I go to meetings in the future, I'll make sure to let people know what I'm up to. Who's next?
Thank you. Popcorn's working, by the way. I think, just saying. Well, okay. Except for the last 3, I guess yeah, we are in order.
Tell people that we decided that people decided they rebelled. They didn't like my throwing the die and making them go in numerical order and that. So they said, can you just trust us to raise our hands? And so we're going with it. All right.
Well, back to order. Yeah, Bennett, thank you for hosting an amazing site visit, and Bulldog TV, whoop, whoop, that was great. So Director Webster and I were interviewed by a student-led team of kids that interview and post these videos, and Igor and Lucy and Brooke, I can't remember their name. Anyway, thanks kids, it was a ton of fun. And a real shout out to Jen Straley at the Evergreen Transition. It was just amazing, inspiring. And for the parents that opened their hearts to us and shared so deeply about their experience. And not only their day-to-day, but what they're thinking about for next steps and for the future, and how so many of their conversations were surprising. I guess that was the first time they really listened deeply to each other because they just don't have that opportunity. And also a shout out to Mendy Carroll and Amy Lennox, who from PTSA showed up and helped create such a beautiful, great hospitality with just food and attention and love. Jubilee Reach, we haven't had much director's discussion. So Jubilee Reach, again, I'm liaison. The whole board was there for Festival of Trees. Of course, the superintendent was there, Dr. Aramaki. It was just a great feel-good moment, and I forgot to write down the amount of money that was raised. I don't know if anybody else remembers, but it was an amazing, generous group of people. Phil's got it. Yeah, it was big. It was so big. And they also, right now, Jubilee Reach has the Jubilee Elves going on to help love up our kids in our local community with holiday love and support. So thank you for all they do for our kids. Welcome Center Reflection. I just want to say again, being on that advisory, it is inspiring, and all of the different ways that we can tap into our inclusive space through the Welcome Center, inclusive of ASL. We're talking about doing videos because you can't just have a sign. It has to be video based. So we're trying to think of creative ways to make sure that everyone feels included. So I'm really glad Director Aras brought that up today. Lastly, I had another great lively conversation with our PTSA Council President Mendy Carroll this morning. We reflected on last month's meeting. It was, we talked a lot about our financial situation at the last meeting and learned a lot about what worked and what could be better. Rolling out the communication plan that Dr. Aramaki talked about is coming down the road, but also just what we can do as a board, what we can do as a community to further deepen our understanding, deepen our transparency, and shared accountability for what's happened and what's moving forward. So really appreciate our time together with that group. Okay. I didn't even look at the clock.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. And I'm going to really quickly Director Block's comment around the telehealth. So I think that maybe there are some of our spaces where that works really well, and then maybe some others that there might be some challenge. Just in my personal experience, when my kiddo was in school last year, he had to have a number of those because he injured himself. And Sammamish was very gracious with allowing that, and even gave him a space to do those. And so we didn't have any issues. So I don't know if it's just school by school, but just wanted to put that out there. Feel like I've been doing stuff every day as well, Carolyn, and it's just like trying to capture it is a challenge. But shout out to the Evergreens Transitions that we visited a few weeks ago. And I just really appreciated that two-sided exit checklist that outlines kind of the next steps of transition for parents. It made it like super easy. It was really accessible for parents and things. And so I'm just like, man, like I wish we could have that at all of our schools. As a parent, I wish I would have had that. So so that was great. Really enjoyed our time with Bennett Elementary as well, and doing the interviews with the kids. That was super fun. I had to do it twice after you left, actually. We also attended the WASDA conference. And I don't know if we had a chance to talk about that. So might want to talk a little bit about that. But we learned a lot of things about some recent changes in the law that may impact some of our school districts. We were having and engaged in lots of conversations with other school districts across the state. It was just really important that we learn from each other and hear what's been successful, what hasn't been working. And then we had an amazing panel. Since I'm bringing it up, I get to talk about it, with Dr. Aramaki, Director Aras, and President Watson that they led. And it was just absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if they knew I was going to come and just kind of crash the party, but it was just really engaging, and lots of superintendents there wanting to learn about all the wonderful things that we're doing here in Bellevue. And then I got approached separately going, we need to meet and talk more about the work that you all are doing over there. And so that was really inspiring. And then the last thing, oh God, I ran out of time too. Last thing real quick, attended the Rainier Athletes meeting, and that was great. Just want to remind everybody about the annual fundraising event that's on April 26th. There will be invite coming out, so just please mark that on your calendars. It's always fun, and that's it. Thank you.
It's great to have the district pushing us and giving us 2 minutes when the calendar says 3, but
It's
No, that's okay. It's because now we have 3
we're
minutes
right
for
on
break.
time.
Yeah, so that was right. Don't worry.
I did text her and say, give them 2 minutes each,
Oh.
which none of you followed except for Jane, but okay.
We're on break. We're going to have a study session and it was slated to start at 6:30. So let's get over to the study session as quickly as possible. Let's say 6:35 at the latest and just kind of, all right. So we have to pack up all our stuff and migrate.